Hey there. It's been a while since I've done one of these, huh? Not for you, I think, because this should be going up roughly a week after the end of book 5. Yeah. Well, why am I doing this? Why are we here? This isn't book 6. Book 6 hasn't even started to be put on the server yet. Hell, I haven't even finished writing it yet. Well, you saw the title. You know what this is. Well, that's a little history lesson. The first time I did audiobooks of War of the Yokai was well over a year ago, when I was still learning how to use my mic and my programs, and, well, suffice to say, I wasn't, you know, I didn't know exactly what I was doing then. I had my audio, the microphone setting a little too high, and my noises hurt people's ears. Something fierce. So I took those versions down and recorded new ones from my Twitch streams. As you might recall, I used to read these on Twitch. I did streams. Those streams, they didn't do so well. So I decided, you know what? Screw it. I'll just record these on my own. And that's how it's been since, I want to say book 3? Maybe book 4? I think it's book 3. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to record the old books that were done on stream. And maybe book 4 too, just because voice. We'll see. Yeah, might do that just so everything is the same. Yeah, you know. Yeah, you know. So, if you've heard the old ones before, this isn't going to be much new. There is a little bit I did add to book 1. I won't lie. They're here in the beginning, so once you hear the new part, you'll pretty much be caught up. But I hope you will stick around, and if you've never heard these before, well, welcome. I hope you will enjoy. And without further ado, why don't we get started? This is War of the Yokai, Arc 1, not Book 1, Arc 1 now. Prelude to Chaos. Prologue. Hi, my name is Usako Takibana. I'm 15 years old and a sophomore at Tsukiyomi Academy, an all-girls boarding school I've attended since the 2nd grade. During my freshman year, if you told me monsters and demons were real, I probably would have just laughed it off and said something like, sure, and they're BFFs with Santa and the aliens, too. I want to believe, man. However, about 3 months into this semester, I began to wonder otherwise. 7:55 a.m. Oi, Usako! Wake up, you lazy bones! Ugh. Looks like I fell asleep at my desk before class again. It took me a minute to get my bearings. Oh, hey, Emi-chan. That was my best friend, Emiko Ayame. We've been like sisters since the 3rd grade. Usually, Emi's a very kind and thoughtful girl with a gentle smile, but as of recently, she seemed a little, I don't know, distant, I guess? Then again, with finals around the corner and all, I suppose she has the right. Hey, Usako, did you hear? It happened again last night. I don't think so, I replied with a yawn. I had to work the late shift, so it was a shower, food, bed kind of night. The 1-minute warning bell sounded as Emmy continued. There was another murder, this time at the park nearby. That makes 4 so far, if I'm not mistaken. With a boop on the head, I corrected her. 3, silly. There was the one by the docks, the one in the woods, and now this one. Jokingly, I rubbed my chin and suspiciously eyed her up and down. Now, where'd you pull that 4th one from? Usako, this is hardly a joking matter, she answered with a sigh, adjusting her glasses as she turned towards the window. But if I were you, I would make certain I was home well before dark. I giggled, which seemed to confuse Emiko, as she wheeled back and looked me dead in the eyes, causing her ponytail to nearly smack her in the face. I fail to see any humor in this situation, she stated harshly. Furthermore, all those killed thus far have been girls around our own age. If you're not careful... Without realizing it, Emiko's voice had risen to a sharp yell, causing everyone in the room to look over at us. If you're not careful, she finished quietly as the last bell rang. As the last bell rang, her cheek slightly tinged red with embarrassment. You could be next. And you're the last person I'd ever want to lose, Uso-chan. With that, class representative Emiko Ayame walked over to her seat as Kurimura-sensei entered the room and started class. 2:15 p.m. My last class of the day was historical literature, and it's by far my least favorite. I thought it would be fun. After all, I love history, but all it's been so far is essay after essay after essay. Grr! How lame can you get? Anyway, today we went to the library in order to start working on a research paper or something I honestly gave up caring a month ago. But you could bet your ass I wasn't going to let a chance like this pass me by. The library building was actually an aircraft hangar back during World War II, and it's a big one at that. When the school originally bought it, the first thing they did was renovate and add on to this monster of a building, and it's still going on to this very day. The joke around campus is that they'll stop building when World War III starts up and they need a giant mech buried deep below the original structure. Really? Helicopter, now of all times. Maybe I should have closed my slider before I started recording. Oh, well, too late now. Needless to say, it would be very easy for someone to get lost or, in my case, ditch class among the many hundreds of bookshelves. As soon as Araki-sensei wasn't looking, yes, that is a reference, I snuck off and began looking for a place to work. I was almost to the literature department doors before I finally settled on a place nestled cozily between two bookshelves. All right, this'll do nicely, I said as I opened my bag and pulled out some grid paper and pencil. Oh, hold on a second. There we go. Pencils. Yes, I'm trying to become a mangaka, but, well, my sketches need a little work. Okay, a lot of work. Okay, fine. I can barely draw a stick person. Get off my back. Jeez! Anyway, before I could actually begin to get started, a great tiredness fell over me, which was no doubt a result of both my late hours at work and my own natural apathy. I fought and fought, but in the end I couldn't help but fall asleep. And there I stayed until long after the final bell, and probably would have stayed all night had I not heard that sound. The sound I would never forget. It was somewhere between a deep bellowing shout and a blood-curdling scream. And whatever was making that noise was close. Very close. 12 a.m. Time for some sip. An unearthly scream rang through the dark and empty halls. It was long past the time anyone was supposed to be in the main school building. Yet here Usako Takibana, a sophomore at Tsukuyomi Academy, found herself, locked in with some kind of demon. Of all the rotten luck, she groaned, ducked behind a corner. First my bike chain falls off on the way here this morning. Then I fall asleep in the library, and when I finally wake up, it's midnight, and something's screaming. Another scream, this time closer, causes the pinkette to nearly jump out of her skin. Oh crap, oh crap, crap, oh crap! Panicking, Usako's azure eyes dart in every direction, desperately trying to find something she could use as a weapon. Unfortunately, the only thing she managed to locate was a fire extinguisher. Guess this'll have to do, she sighed in defeat. Clack, clack, clack. From down the hall, Usako... Here, let me try that again. Clack, clack, clack. From down the hall, Usako could hear the thing's clawed feet getting closer. Coming right for her, it almost sounded like. As if it knew. You want some of this? She whimpered as quietly as possible, scared out of her wits. Come at me, bro. Clack, clack, clack. Clack. The footfalls stopped. Usako gulped. Slowly, she peered her head around the corner, eyes clenched shut. A foul smell entered her nostrils, somewhere between wet dog and sulfur. Daring the nightmare, the high schooler slowly opened one eye, and with that, Usako blew Usain Bolt's land speed record out of the water, charging for the nearest exit as her fire extinguisher clanged uselessly down the hall after her. Volume warning. She screamed, tears gushing down her face. It's gonna eat my soul! And I have the windows open, too. Meanwhile, on the roof of a nearby building, framed against the crescent moon, two female figures sat on their haunches, waiting. One, tall and broad, violet eyes and with short red hair trimmed in a bob cut, a single neck-length braid on the left side of her face. The other figure was smaller in both size and frame, with slender limbs, pale skin, and medium-length pumpkin orange hair. Somehow, despite the low light, her blue eyes almost seemed to glow in the dark as she said, "What's the situation this time?" "Looks like we've got her now," replied the bigger girl. A concerned expression then crossed her face. "Wait a minute. Oh no, Isai-san, you were right. There's like a human in there too." "Then why are we still here, Kobayashi-kun? We must make haste." The first girl, the one called Issei, ducked into the roof via an air vent. Kobayashi, however, found herself unable to get in past her elbows. "I'm stuck," she whimpered helplessly, a victim of her own considerable musculature. And boobs. "This is it. This is how I die." Usako hadn't really been thinking about where she was going when she had fled from the monster, and had thusly wound up trapped on the third floor of the art wing. As moonlight cast bizarre shadows on the statues and paintings displayed on the walls, Usako took a minute to contemplate her fate. It figured that her life would end like this, sliced apart by some otherworldly monster, surrounded by the works of the more popular students. "I never even had a boyfriend," she cried as footfalls approached her once more. But as the door slowly creaked open, a rush of adrenaline surged through Usako Takibana's body. There was no way in hell she was going to die a virgin. "Hey, ugly!" she shouted, jumping up and aiming the hose at the monster. "Eat foam, sucker!" A shower of white spray erupted from the nozzle as Usako flailed like mad, barely able to control the stream as it forced the dark figure to the ground. Once the stream slowed to a trickle, Usako hesitantly approached the felled form and poked it with a nearby ruler. "Huh. Guess it's dead," she muttered as the foamy figure began to stir, causing Usuko to jump back about 10 feet and yelp in panic. What? As it stood back up, the pink cat noticed that it looked surprisingly human. In fact, she could swear that this thing, or whatever it was, wore her school's purple and gray uniform. It was then that Usuko realized that she hadn't attacked the creature at all, but rather the 2B class representative, Emiko Ayame. "Oh my god, Emi-chan!" she exclaimed, rushing back towards the girl. "I am so sorry! I thought you were the monster!" "Why on earth would you believe me to be a monster, Usuko?" inquired the bewildered girl as she wiped the foamy substance off of her face and glasses. Her usually cheery persona had vanished completely, replaced by a tone absolutely dripping with venom. The two girls had been best friends since the 3rd grade, but the azure-haired girl constantly found herself at odds with the pink-haired girl. Either Usuko had gotten into another fight and needed bailing out, or had come up with some crazy scheme that required explanation as to how it would not only fail to accomplish anything, but almost certainly start World Wars 3 through 5 simultaneously. Well, you see, I'd fallen asleep in the library after class, and I guess no one noticed. Story of my life, right? Well, when I woke up, it was almost midnight, and there was this god-awful screaming noise. I went out to see what was causing it, and there was this weird creature. Then it started chasing me until I wound up here, and well, that's when you walked in, Emi-chan. It was then that Usuko realized that though her current position wasn't too out of the ordinary, demon monsters aside, Emiko always made sure to leave the building no later than 5. And she had never once, in all the years Usuko knew her, deviated from this ritual. Say, Emi-chan, what brings you here at this hour of night anyway? When she looked into Emiko's face just then, Usuko saw not the friend she had known for many years, nor the class representative she admired greatly. What Usuko Takibana saw was the face of a predator that had just cornered its prey and was going in for the kill. Why? Whatever do you mean, my dear Usuko? I always come here at this time to hunt. In a fraction of a second, the girl's body shimmered before transforming into a hideous, all too familiar form. Standing over 7 feet tall, with pale blue skin and long black hair, wearing a now too tight gray skirt and a ripped violet blazer over a camisole, arms as thick as tree limbs, muscles that looked like they'd been carved from stone. But the face, despite the purple, slit pupil eyes and single conical horn, the face was still that of Emiko. Emi-chan, gulped Usuko, terrified beyond all rational thought. What's happened to you, Emi-chan?
This?
Sneered the large, pale blue demon, its voice practically identical to Emiko's, save for being several octaves deeper.
This is what you might call my true form. This is what you might call my true form. You didn't really think I was one of you humans, did you? Oh, Usuko, you always were a fool.
Grinning widely, she lunged at Usuko. Yeah! Usuko's cries for help were cut off as a massive spear burst through the ceiling and through the ogre's stomach. Hey, Big Blue! Teased a girl with short, bright red hair, jumping through the brand new hole in the roof that had been created by the spear. Heads up! Prying her tear-filled eyes open, Usako nearly wet herself at the sight before her. An ornate cross-shaped spear, medieval in appearance, with gold trim swirling around the edge of its polished steel blade. She probably could have seen more, but the tip was about 2 inches from her nose. What? Usako figured her night couldn't get any weirder than it already had. And it was then that the crimson-haired girl transformed into a monster almost identical to Emiko, only a bright red instead of a pale blue.
Ah! Stupid red!
Shouted Emiko, pulling the spear from her gut and throwing it at the red demon.
It'll take more than that to bring me down!
However, rather than dodge the dangerous projectile her blue-toned counterpart had hurled, the red-hued ogre simply let it pass through her body, only barely wincing, and into the hand of the second girl stood behind her, bright orange hair obscuring her eyes from view. As Usako watched, Emiko's wound began healing at a rapid pace, eventually leaving no sign it had ever existed, as did the red monsters. "I'll take it from here, Kobayashi-kun," said the second girl in a monotone voice, as she twirled the spear over her head at a blinding pace. "You see to the human. Attend to her injuries if need be, but get her out of here at once." The red ogre girl's body shimmered and returned to its original shape as she grabbed Usako under the arms and carried her away towards the gymnasium, the pinkette protesting vehemently as she went. "Now that the human is out of harm's way, Blue Oni," said the Orangette coldly, "we can discuss why you felt it was necessary to not only reveal your true form, but also attempt to slay her. Both of these are very serious offenses, I'm sure you're aware." The ogre girl snorted in contempt.
"And what are you gonna do about it, hmm? You know you won't kill me. After all, my father is the Blue Oni King."
The spear held by the stoic girl seemed to vanish for a moment before Emiko was suddenly hurled against the wall by an unseen force and pinned into place by smaller copies of the spear. "I needn't kill you to accomplish my goal, Princess Ayame," she said, slowly approaching the now helpless Oni. "Headquarters merely needs to know why you've attacked this girl, as well as the others. Don't think us to be ignorant. We know full well that you're the one responsible for the recent string of killings in Fumizaki." A dark shadow passed over Emiko's face as she began giggling.
"Okay, yeah, you caught me,"
she said with almost childlike glee.
"Yep, I'm your culprit. I absolutely slaughtered those fools, each and every one of them."
Her eyes, the telltale deep purple that identified her kind, grew wide with madness, and a sadistic grin stretched across her face as her words grew more and more frantic.
"But why shouldn't I? They deserve it, those filthy humans. They hunted my kin to near extinction, and all because we're ugly in their eyes. Well, you know what? I don't care what rules you people made about humans. It's open season, I say! No limit!"
Another spear materialized through the bottom of her jaw, sealing it through the upper palate, sealing it shut, though not keeping the blue monster from screaming in agony anyway. Without hesitation, the shorter girl jumped onto Emiko's broad shoulders and unsheathed a dagger right over her heart, piercing the skin just enough to draw blood. "You will listen to me, and you will do it now," she said, still quiet in voice, but with a tone of barely restrained fury. Emiko was able to get a better look at the girl's bright blue eyes then, and saw them filled with a boiling rage. "Your kind were not the only ones to have been hunted by humans. Not by a long shot." She opened her mouth, revealing her razor-sharp canines to the helpless ogre. "We too have been hated by humans from the moment our races met, but we hold no grudge against them as you do. Instead, we've tried and tried to intermix with humanity, and in many ways. The present peace between humans and monsters is a fragile one, and you know it, Emiko Ayame. As things are now, they believe us to be myths, things of legend and folklore. And you know as well as I do what would happen should we become common knowledge to man. It's happened before, or did you forget? She then removed the spear from the girl's mouth so she could speak again. So again I ask, why did you attack these humans and risk discovery? What did you hope to accomplish?
Very well. I'll tell you, vampire,
muttered Emiko as her jaw healed itself.
But I cannot promise you'll like what you hear.
Let me go! Usuko was struggling uselessly against the powerful grip of the crimson-haired girl as she sprinted through the halls of the school, trying to put as much distance as possible between her and Emiko. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, she apologized profusely, seemingly almost as upset as Usuko was. But Nanami told me to get you out of there, and I'm not gonna disobey her. I know that girl used to be your friend and all, but you gotta face facts that Emiko is gone. Maybe for good. That's assuming she ever existed to begin with. Usuko looked up at the sprinting girl. How'd you know her name? More importantly, who the hell are you? Looking around and determining they were far enough, the tall girl set Usuko down onto the floor and took a rest. My name's Reiko Bayashi. My friend back there is Nanami Issei. We were sent here to investigate rumors there was a berserk blue oni. Turns out they were right. Unsurprisingly, none of this made a lick of sense to Usuko. But I saw you turn into a creature just like her, so why are you trying to kill me too? Ray sighed. Hey, just 'cause I'm a red oni doesn't mean I'm evil. Besides, for the most part, we oni are peaceful. Sure, we have some pretty sick weapons, but those are strictly self-defense, you know? It's humans like you that made us out as mindless demons. Realizing the accusatory nature of her words, the redhead apologized. After a few moments of awkward silence, Usuko spoke up again. Kobayashi-san, is there anything I can do to help? What do you mean? She replied, confused by what the girl meant. I mean, that's my best friend back there, and I'm sitting here on my butt while she gets killed. Please, isn't there anything I can do? Ray frowned, closing her violet eyes and sighing deeply. I'm sorry, Uso-chan, but you're a human. If you went up there, you'd, be killed for sure. Please! Thinking about this for a moment, Ray decided to give the girl a chance. Reaching into her pocket, she pulled out a small clear gem attached to a thin piece of rope with a clasp. This is a yokai crystal. They're what we use to transform into humans and vice versa. I've heard that some rare humans have used these and developed powers like ours. Usuko reached for the sparkling gem, but Ray pulled it away. I gotta warn you though, the odds of you dying horribly are far greater than those that you'll survive. Are you sure you want to do this? At that moment, a limp figure came flying down the hall and crashed into a row of lockers. It was Nonami. Issei-san! Cried Ray as she ran over to her friend. Run! She croaked as a massive, dark blue winged entity flew towards them.
Die, you vampire scum!
It screamed as it swung a cement column in every direction, knocking down walls and sending lockers and chairs flying like some sort of hurricane. Well, since I'm screwed either way, thought Usuko grimly. Kobayashi-san, toss me the gem! The crimson-haired girl nodded and chucked the crystal at Usuko, who grabbed it in midair and fastened it around her neck. At that moment, the world shined with a blinding white light that seemed to pierce through the very walls themselves, touching every last corner of the building. And in that same moment, unbeknownst to anyone present, history was about to be rewritten. After a few minutes, Nonami was once again able to see. Being a creature of the night and all, the brilliant light was even more intense for her eyes, used to the pitch darkness of night. However, what she saw made Nonami Issei question her view of reality. Fighting the fully transformed Emiko was what seemed to be a magical girl straight out of an anime. Dressed in a more elegant variation of this school's purple and gray uniform, with angelic wings on her back and wielding some sort of shotgun and a... Was that a solid gold baseball bat? This girl was actually forcing the Oni into a corner. Their fight was quite emotionally intense, as the girl seemed more intent on trying to get the Oni to see reason than actually fighting her. Even though the magical girl realized she truly didn't have a choice, and tightening both hands around the handle of the gilded bat, she charged in. Kobayashi? Did you call for reinforcements? Ray, currently about as dumbfounded as Nonami was, shook her head in a negative. Now, please don't be angry with me, Nonami, but that's the girl from earlier. She wanted to help her friend, and when this thing showed up, it was do or die for her, so I gave her a yokai crystal. Now, Nonami Issei had been around for a while. After all, she was a vampire, and they're not known for living a normal human lifespan. That said, she had never seen a yokai crystal do something like this before. If the human even survived the infusion process to begin with, they typically took on attributes of the monster who last possessed the crystal. Considering that would have been Ray in this circumstance, this girl should have taken on aspects of a red Oni, not some otaku's wet dream come true. Are you absolutely certain it was a yokai crystal? She asked in disbelief. By that time, she noticed that the magical girl had managed to force the Oni into a corner, ensnaring her in some sort of light net that had been fired from her shotgun, which rapidly drained the Oni of her power and forced her to revert back to base Oni form once more. Well, I think so, Ray replied as the two approached the fallen Oni. Hey, Usuko-san! Good work! With a tired smile, Usuko gave the two girls a thumbs up before collapsing onto the floor and turning back to normal. Oh dear me, sighed Ray, hefting the now snoring girl over her shoulder. Well, it seems like she's back to normal now. I'll take the blue Oni to HQ, Nonami replied. Lydia can take care of things from there. You, on the other hand, had ought to take that girl home. For now, it's the safest place for her. Tomorrow, Lydia will likely want to speak with her, given what just occurred, so someone may need to guard her for the time being until then. Oh, oh, giggled Ray. Can it be me? Please, oh please. Perhaps, Kobayashi-kun, sighed Nonami with a faint smile. We'll have to see. Yay! Cheered the red Oni girl as she took flight into the night and headed in the exact opposite direction of Usuko's house.
The master is preparing for war.
As Nonami jumped from building to building, carrying the now helpless blue Oni on her back towards Gardner HQ, the words she spoke earlier rang inside her head. What do you mean by that? She had replied.
We have tired of being hidden, of assuming these disgusting human forms in order to keep pace with those vile creatures. Our master is gathering an army, even as we speak, to overthrow those worlds and take our rightful place as rulers of this world.
It was then that, using the Oni's natural power of illusion, Emiko had managed to fully transform and ripped herself free of the spear's bonds without alerting Nonami until it was too late. Catching the vampire off guard, she'd had no trouble pummeling her into the ground before throwing her the length of the school. "This cannot be good," she said to herself, landing on a roof in the middle of downtown. "If what she said is true, then we're all in danger." She walked over to an unassuming door and input a series of numbers into a nearby keypad. Out of the ground popped a small, camera-like device attached to a metallic tendril which grew like a beanstalk until it reached the center of her chest. I don't know if that came through on the mic or not, but my neighbors are being drunk a-holes. Loud drunk a-holes. Anyway. It grew like a beanstalk to the center of her chest. From the lens shone a soft green light, which scanned the faintly orange-hued yokai crystal around her neck. "Nonami Issei," she stated firmly, "and I have a prisoner with me. I'm requesting an immediate debrief with Mrs. Nakamoto. Repeat, immediate debrief. She needs to know about this ASAP." The camera sank back into the ground as the door opened to reveal an almost 6-foot-tall, slender woman with short, dark purple hair framing her face. "Ray has already informed me about what happened tonight," she said in a heavy Texas accent as the two walked down a dimly lit corridor. 3 guards had already escorted Emiko to a holding cell for the time being. Nonami and Lydia Nakamoto seemed to be the only ones in the building as the two of them entered an office. All around the room, Nonami saw various pictures and paintings of cats, while on the windowsill were several pots of catnip. The chairs, too, seemed to be clawed up. Lydia sat behind her desk and folded her hands across her mouth. "I'd like to hear your account, Ms. Issei," she said in a quiet tone. "Ms. Kobayashi can be a little difficult to understand sometimes. What exactly did she mean by And then Uso-chan took the crystal and whoosh! There was a huge light, and when it faded, she was a Mahashoujo? What on earth is that? Mahashoujo, ma'am, Nonami corrected. "It means magical girl. They're pretty popular here in Japan." "Right. Well, anyway, from what I can understand, it seems she gave a human a yokai crystal without authorization. I know Ray can be a ditz sometimes, but how could she have forgotten how dangerous and foolish her actions were? Given the situation, I feel Kobayashi-kun's actions were justified. If she hadn't given the crystal to the human, her fate would have been the same if she had done so and it failed. However, that isn't all, Mrs. Nakamoto. I learned some very disturbing information from the Oni, which I think you should hear." "Indeed?" inquired Lydia, a pair of feline ears on her head perking up in attention. "By all means, Ms. Issei. Please, go on." Nonami went on to recount her tryst with the Oni and what was revealed to her about this supposed building army. The vampire could tell, despite her boss's stoic face, that the information was upsetting her. The ears perched atop her head were now laying flat against her scalp, and her hair had begun to stand up a bit. "I see," she replied, maintaining her composure as best she could. "I'll have Sess tell the others to keep an eye out for any suspicious activity. As for you, Nanami, if you're certain this girl now possesses a yokai crystal, then I'll assign some guards to her in the event of another attack." "Ma'am, if I may, Ray requested that she be... Kobayashi-kun requested that she be put in charge of this Usako's detail. And if she's in charge, I'll need to be there too, so she doesn't do anything stupid or otherwise harmful to herself or others." Lydia considered this for a moment. "Very well. I'll arrange it so the two of you will have residence close to her. Are you sure you want this, Nanami? You realize it might be dangerous, right?" Lydia, this is me we're talking about here. I've got this. Nodding in acknowledgement, Lydia turned towards her computer and began making the necessary arrangements for Nanami and Ray. And that's where we're going to end this. I know what you're thinking, Reiko. It's not even an hour. I'm making these shorter. I feel like 40 minutes, that's a good bite size. See, I could keep going and going and going, but I want people to see this like on YouTube. I do kind of gotta thank YouTube algorithm as much as I don't want to. So I feel like we go too much longer, and there's also, there's attention span of the viewer. Like, yeah, you're probably just putting this on to listen to, but I feel like 40 minutes plus, the video is only 40 minutes long, but I've been recording it for an hour because there was a lot of testing to do that new voice filter for Emmy because I did that on the fly because I'm not smart, and that's probably why it sounded a little different for the first two goes. But I think we got the pattern down now. Let me know how that sounds, by the way. I'm not going to record any more of this until this goes live and I get some feedback on how it sounds, because I think it sounds all right, but I also know what I'm saying. You don't necessarily. So I want you to tell me. I need you to leave a comment. Just let me know when the. Hold on.
When I'm talking like this, can you make out what the hell I'm saying? Because if you can't, well, heck.
So, yeah. Just let me know in the comments. Leave a comment. I'm not going to tell you to leave a like, because I'm not. Yeah. Only like it if you liked it. That's what I say. But, yeah. Feedback's appreciated. I hope you enjoyed. The next one will be, like I said, we won't be recording it until this one goes up. And this one will be going up, 1 second. May 30th. So, at the earliest, it'll be going up June 6th. Part 2. So, we'll see. Until then, hope you enjoyed. I recognize the picture's not exactly book 1 accurate, or arc 1 accurate. It'll be changed for the next one. Don't worry, I got something. I got something good. Take care. Have a good day. Hope you're going well. And sayonara.